Hey guys, it's Joel Castro coming back with yet another vlog. Alright, now this one is actually not going to feature a review, for once. Today I'm actually going to talk about a few things. The main one being video games. Where the hell are they going to go? Now the future of gaming has been debated over for years. Ever since video games started. Like, where are they going to go? Are they going to get better? Are they going to become a new art form? All that good stuff. And I'm just going to talk about, my interpretation of how things are going to go. Now, the way things are going, seems like graphics and how a video game looks seems to be the most important thing. And I'm kind of iffy on that one. Because what made video games great back then, and still make them great today, because people always talk about the classic video games, like film buffs talk about classic movies, is that for video games, gameplay was the most important element, and it still is, in my opinion. If you're able to play the game, and the game is able to immerse you, so that you feel like you are definitely in control, then you've made a game for the ages. That's not to say all games that have tight controls are good, but if every element works out, then you've made the game for the ages. Like, you had games like Super Metroid for the SNES, Super Mario Brothers, the first Super Mario Brothers. You had The Legend of Zelda, the original. You had Super Nintendo games like Donkey Kong Country, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger. These are all games that had tight gameplay, but their visuals were just, visuals. They were cartoony, but they still look beautiful. And plus, a lot of these games had really good stories. Now, that's not to say Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda had that great a story back then, because, well, Mario, go fetch the princess. Link, kill the giant pigman and save your princess. But games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and even I don't want to say Chrono Trigger because I'm but story had always played a pivotal role in video games, and a lot of video games these days have really compelling stories. Halo has a good story, Dead Space has a good story, Kingdom Hearts, the newest Final Fantasies, Call of Duty. Just kidding. See what I did there. But, yeah, I mean, for me, video games have to maintain the aspect of gameplay as the most important feature of a video game. They have to have an amazing story, but you can't. But again, you cannot ignore the technology coming out, because that is still very important. Just don't put so much emphasis on visual style like so many games are doing nowadays, because that's really bothering me. But that's all I'm going to talk about for the future of gaming, and I don't think it's going to get any worse. The video game crash of 1983, when the Atari just collapsed, I think that was the worst moment in video game history. I don't think it can get any worse than that, guys. So without further ado, here are my top 10 video games. Now, I know you may have seen my list, my my document on Gamer Just Gamer on Facebook, but I don't feel like I went into enough detail. So without further ado, here's my top 10. Number 10, the Spyro the Dragon series. 2 words. Great platformer. The story, it felt a bit thin for the first game, but as the games progressed for Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon, the story got better and better. And Spyro controlled very smoothly, the camera worked really well, and the environments are just so memorable. I still remember the first level of Spyro the Dragon, as it's just so bright and green. I remember the Crafter's World, the Dragon Crafter World, and that is one of the most beautiful environments. And areas in the second game, like the magma levels and Winter Tundra, that I always remember to this day. And in Spyro the Dragon series, just about every area is amazing, with special mention to the Fireworks Factory, which has some of the best music in the series. Now I know the platforming is basic platforming, and I know it's basically a collectathon, but why is that such a dirty word in the gaming industry? I love the series. My favorite out of the series is Spyro the Year of the Dragon, the third game, and moving on, number 9, BioShock. Now, I played this game because I had heard so many stories about how amazing it was. And what really captivated me was not the visuals, because 2007 graphics, you're not really going to be that great, but the story. The story is just amazing. I've already done a review of BioShock, so you can probably get more information on that video than on this one. This is kind of just for the record. But this is a game with an amazing story, great first-person shooter mechanics, one of the few first-person shooters that I like to play. Some of the craziest and most demented characters you'll ever know. And in this setting, steampunk in the 40s? The hell? That's so cool! And so yeah, this is just an amazing game. Go pick it up. Xbox, PlayStation 3, or PC. Go pick it up. Number 8, the Assassin's Creed series. Oh my god, how I fell in love with this game, with this series. I played the game I started playing about the time Assassin's Creed 2 came out. So I got both Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 at the same time. I played the first one. I liked it a lot. There were some things that bothered me, especially how repetitive it was. But overall, it was just amazing, an amazing experience. Then the second one came out. Holy Jesus on a stick. Was that game amazing? It's my favorite of the series. I mean, the story got better. The gameplay was vastly improved. Missions were not repetitive anymore, to some extent. You had more to do. It felt kind of like an RPG in that sense. You had so much to do. And so many different environments you could go to. And, I love it! Now, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations are both amazing, but I just feel that, those two games are a whole lot of filler. Desmond's story kind of progressed a little, but, again, also, it just feels like filler, especially Revelations. Good God! At least we got Assassin's Creed 3 coming out, which I'm going to the midnight release for that game. I'm sorry, but I'm going. But yeah, the settings, the characters, and the gameplay are all just amazing. So if you've never played Assassin's Creed, all 3 of you, go play it. Whatever, go get it now. Number 7, Heavy Rain. Now, Garrett and I have already done a review of this, so again, this is for the record. And to put it simply, the most emotional and interactive game I've ever played. Quantic Dream is going to be a big company someday. Now, I know they got famous first with this game called Fahrenheit/Indigo Prophecy in North America, but Heavy Rain is where they started shining, in my opinion. Every event is QuickTime events, but they're done so well because you're always expecting them. Of course, you can still walk around and stuff, but for the most part, it's all interactive. And the story, good God, is the story engaging. You're always wondering, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Are they going to catch the killer? Is someone going to die? You determine that in the game. It's that interactive. Oh my goodness. Some things will annoy you about the game, like some repeated lines and some character accents that aren't hidden very well, but the overall experience is so amazing that you'll overlook these things. I love it. The soundtrack is even emotional to the point where I cried during some scenes because of the music. So, moving on. Number 6 shall be the Dragon Age series. One of the best RPGs ever created. Now, obviously, Dragon Age Origins is better because Garrett and I talked about Dragon Age 2 a lot. While a good game, gameplay and the interface was amazing, everything else just didn't pan out that well. But I still can't deny that it's part of the series, and I would love to see Dragon Age 3 see the light of day. Now, as for the world is huge, the gameplay is great for both games, in my personal opinion. The characters are so damn memorable, especially Morrigan the Witch, Alistair the Templar, / King, if you turn him into the King by the time Dragon Age 2 came around. And, oh my goodness, so many awesome characters. I hope they bring back Varric and Sandal, the merchant's son. He has to be an important character in Dragon Age 3. I'm just telling you right now. But, I digress. Dragon Age, amazing. Number 5, God of War series. Fuck yes. I do intend a full review of each of the 3 games, but to put it simply, this is the most stylish beat-em-up I've ever seen. The gameplay is brutal to the point where you're saying you're reacting as badly as people did when the new Mortal Kombat came out. Holy Christ. But the gameplay is so brutal. Kratos, even though he's a brute, he's a more complex character than people realize. The score is epic. So much epicness. And the main thing that got me interested was the Greek mythology aspect. That new spin on Greek mythology. And how Kratos was implemented so damn well. Greek mythology is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. And when I heard God of War was like Greek mythology, I'm like, oh, I must play this game. My favorite game in the series is probably God of War 2. Now, even though 3 is so far the best, my favorite is God of War 2 because the story progressed so well in that one that I just couldn't deny it at all. So, yeah, there you have it. Number 4, Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City as a tie. It is Batman done right in every single way. I talked in depth about it in my past review, my past vlog, but to put it simply, the gameplay is amazing. The story is worthy of the comics. And the characters are very well defined. The music is amazing, and oh my goodness. Why couldn't they make a Batman game like this years ago? Now, Arkham City improved on Arkham Asylum in every single way, so that makes it my personal favorite and one of my top 10 singular games of all time. I have a different list for that, but it's just so awesome. If you've never played the Arkham Batman games, do it. You will never, ever regret it. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda series. And I know what you're thinking. Why is that not number 1? You know my number 1 already. You know my number 1 already. So, but again, I will plan some reviews of the Zelda games, but I just love them. The storylines are complex. It has probably my favorite gaming hero of all time, Link. The music, especially from Ocarina of Time, is sublime. I'm sorry I'm basically nerdgasming every 5 seconds, but these are my favorite games. I have to gush with them, you know. Now, none of the games that I have personally played, even the Game Boy games, have never disappointed. And I know what you're thinking. There were CDI games. I pretend those do not exist. For very good reasons. But, everything about this game, the adventure, the items you collect, they're all just so memorable. Like, my favorite of the series is Twilight Princess, just because it was the first one I've ever played. And while it's not as dark as Majora's Mask, good lord, no. It just has the most amazing side characters I've ever seen, including Midna. And the adventure, every place that I've been to in that game, I remember, like, offhand. More than Ocarina of Time, more than Majora's Mask, more than Wind Waker, and that's it. Legend of Zelda, amazing. Pick up any of the games whenever you can. Next on the list, number 2, Chrono Trigger. Now, I realize Final Fantasy VI gets a lot of praise as the greatest Super Nintendo RPG. Well, I agree to a lot. I favor Chrono Trigger more, just because I think it's more colorful, has a lot more of my favorite characters. I have a lot more characters that I remember from Chrono Trigger that I remember from Final Fantasy VI. The story is great. It's a time travel story done right for once. And the RPG elements, they're simple but effective. That's what I love about simple games like that. Simple yet effective. I'm glad when they do something like that. Chrono is one of the best silent characters. I remember so many of the battles from that game, so many grand moments. Every time I play that game, I just have a huge smile on my face. And last but not least, number 1, Shadow of the Colossus. No one is surprised as no one? No? Oh, okay. But I went into great detail about Shadow of the Colossus. So, again, for the record. But it goes like this. The story is great and emotional. The gameplay is sublime. The music is sublime. Well, the gameplay is not exactly so sublime because the horse controls and the camera aren't that great. I would actually personally give the game a 9 just for those things. Unbiased. And the Colossi. Best boss battles I've ever seen in a video game. And since they're the only boss battles in the game, duh! If you've never played this game, I suggest you if you have a PlayStation 2, or even a PlayStation 3, because the game recently came out as the HD collection, along with its spiritual aid, Eco, I suggest you pick that game up and play it with enhanced graphics and a lot less frame rate issues than the PlayStation 2 version. I just recommend you play this game because it is an experience you will remember for a long time. And yeah, that concludes my top 10 video games / game series. My favorite solo games, it's a little different. My number 1 will still be the same, but the list is a little different. So I'll probably have that written up for you guys on Gamer Just Gamer. But for the most part, that concludes this video. Until then, this has been Joel Castro, signing off.